Hello. Welcome to another amazing episode of Finding the Superpowers Within. I am your host, Dr. April J. Lisbon, your workplace autism advocate. Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited to have today's guest, Mr. Ali Idriss. Ali is doing some amazing things within his community, and I don't want to butcher his bio because I'm telling you, he is phenomenal. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Ali Idriss. Ali, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Dr. Lisbon. How are we doing, everybody? I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Ali Idriss. I just entered fourth-year student at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida. I'm majoring in biology, aspiring to be a physician. Pre-med is my path, and that's my goal. I've been interning, shadowing, volunteering, building my resume to get into medical school. And my fields of interest range from, internal medicine to cardiology, infectious disease, and gastroenterology. I love medicine as a whole. And I've been interning at different brains as well, where I'm writing my story about my ADHD since I was diagnosed with ADHD at 7 years old, and I'm on the social media team, the research team, doing a bunch of stuff there. A little fun fact about myself, I lived 5 years of my life in Lebanon, where I learned about the culture, and I became fluent in Arabic. Right now I can speak and read and write Arabic. And that's pretty much it. That's me. That's Ali.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So funny. So I heard you say that you were officially diagnosed at age 7. I know this has been several years ago, but can you tell us a little bit about who 7-year-old Ali was and what did he look like back then?
So 7-year-old Ali was a little bullet. I'll tell you, it was around 6 years old, 5 to 6 years old, when I started acting up and in school. I went to Christchurch School here in Christchurch for elementary here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I was a real good student, straight A's and everything. But I had really hyperactive, inattention, and impulsive issues. I was always hyperactive, distracting others, getting out of my seat. I couldn't control myself. I not only distract myself but distract others. I couldn't multitask, and I was just very, I was a hyper little kid. I was a troublemaker, long story short. And, sometimes with my friends, I'd take things away from them, distract them, tap them, talk when I wasn't needed to. So my teachers were a bit concerned. And they talked to my mother, and my mother said, "What should I do?" So they told me he should go get tested for maybe ADHD. He seems a bit hyper and a little inattentive and impulsive. Now, she ended up taking me to Inova right here in Nova Southeastern. They have a psychological services little thing to get tested for ADHD, where I did multiple tests, my IQ, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing you know, I got tested for ADHD inattentive type. And it really kind of woke us up a bit. Now I can do therapy. Now I know what's wrong with me. We can move on from there. And I ended up doing a little bit of therapy for a couple months. I think it was about 6 months. They also they gave me some medication as well. We went through the whole, the rundown once I'm diagnosed with ADHD. But that's basically how it went down. And since then, I've been, working with my ADHD, my attentiveness, my hyperactivity. Obviously, I've grown kind of maybe out of the hyperactive and the restlessness part. You kind of grow up and you're not a little kid anymore. You don't have to run all the time. But yeah, that's basically how it went down around 7 years old. And, it was a little bumpy road, but, here I am.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about some of the trials and some of the triumphs that you've actually experienced having been diagnosed with ADHD. So you already touched a little bit about when you were in grade school, but can you share with us a little bit about how this has impacted you as a college student?
As a college student, see, it's different. I've went through a lot. As a kid, I told you I was hyperactive. I couldn't, sit down, stay controlled, self-control, and hyperactivity was a big thing, as well as inattentiveness. When I was a little kid, they would have to seat me near the teacher, away from my bestest of friends, because I couldn't be able to. They would have to sometimes punish me, pull me time out, things like that. But I kind of grew out of it. I moved to Lebanon for 5 years. So things were a bit different. Things changed. It was a little tougher on me. And I kind of grew out of the hyperactive stage. I was more kind of inattentive. I still am a bit, hyperactive here and there. I get a little excited sometimes. But I became more inattentive, and multitasking, completing tasks, staying focused was a bit of a trouble of mine. But with time, I researched, I looked into things. I also took medication whenever I needed to, which kind of calmed me down. Some people don't agree. Some people think otherwise of medication, but I think, if it's used at moderation, I think it's a good thing.
Mhm.
But here I am as a college student, and I have calendars, as you can tell right here. I have whiteboards. I have to renew this. School starts next week. I keep flashcards in my pockets to write my to-dos. I use my screensaver on my phone to write down to-dos. I always have reminders. I got to stay organized and disciplined, because that's how it is. Having ADHD, you're a bit all over the place. You have multiple tabs open as a college student, and you have multiple classes and multiple due dates. And it's sometimes hard to sit down and focus when you have your phone next to you buzzing and going on and off. So these are the things that help me, the calendar, the flashcards, the to-dos. It relieves the stress a bit. And making sure you're surrounded by people who understand your ADHD, people who understand what you're going through, and remind you to stay on top of your tasks. So, as a college student, as long as you have these tools, it's key. And I've learned that through time. I've joined different brains, a nonprofit organization. They have a mentorship program, and I've learned a lot about ADHD. And I've actually been teaching others. I'm developing this web series over there on ADHD tools, writing a little bit about myself. So that's basically it. You really got to find those tools and help you out. As a college student, it is hard, especially with all the pressure. You're becoming independent, and it's hard to stay disciplined and organized.
Yes, good information. Please tell us one or two things you would want your younger self to know about this ADHD journey.
I would like to tell my younger self, you're young. You got time to make mistakes. You're young, you got time to make mistakes. You're going to grow. Every year is a new year. Every year you evolve into a more organized self, no matter what. As long as you surround yourself by your parents, your friends, your family, and those who understand your diagnosis, ADHD, or whatever it is, and push you forward to be more productive and organized, and kind of make it normal. It's not really an issue to be hyper sometimes, or be impulsive, or goof around when it's not right. It's something, creative through my eyes, something fun at the end of the day. And in attention, there's always tools out there. Once you're comfortable with your schedule and everything, it's easier to focus and relieve that stress. I think I would tell my younger self, go online, do some research. Don't believe everything out there, because there's, always something out there that's not right. But, talk to people and let them understand what you're going through, and you will get better. You'll end up evolving and growing. You're young. There's time to make mistakes.
That's good information. Thank you so much. So I know that you mentioned parents and surrounding yourself with a good support network. What would you want parents and advocates to know about supporting an individual with ADHD?
Well, when you say parents, I always think of my mother. My mother helped me out big time. She was a crucial part of my life. She listened to the teachers who thought there was an issue, and she ended up taking me to therapy. She ended up taking me and trying medication on me, whatever it is. She basically educated me on my diagnosis. So I ended up knowing what I had. I was aware of what I had, and that is key. As long as you see something wrong and take action, ask questions, go out there, talk to a psychologist, an executive function coach, whatever it is, a psychological center, a teacher, someone who's a little more educated on the subject. Because, my mom was a big crucial. She was really curious and she bought multiple books. I'm telling you, she had packs of books on children with ADHD, parenting with ADHD, and she helped me out big time. She helped me stay focused with calendars as a young kid. She would, award me or reward me when I would, finish something on time, finish tasks on time. She helped me out big time. And I think every other parent out there should indeed surround children by better habits and educate themselves and the children and make them feel good about it, because it's not something bad. You're not unable. It's not when it's a disability, yeah, but you're not unable. You are able. And once you create those adaptive skills, you end up getting the superpower. That's basically what it is. So, as I said earlier, parents should educate themselves and the children, and you'll excel no matter what. Excel.
Thank you. Because sometimes as parents, we read everything that's online. We're listening to, everything that's happening with other kids, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what if I'm doing it wrong? So to hear, kudos to your mom for, taking action, for not being afraid to ask those tough questions, for trying things, that she felt was in your best interest. And, just hearing that, because I know as a parent, sometimes that can be very scary for you, because you have one set of parents saying, yes, you need to do this. And then the other set of parents saying, no, you're going to hurt your child, but I think Ali makes a good point that you have to do what's in the best interest of your child. But not only what's in the best interest of your child as far as like medication, but more importantly, creating advocacy in your child, giving them the power to learn more about their superpower, learn more about their diagnosis, so that they too can, like I tell people, buy into it, not seeing it as something bad, but like he says, seeing it as something that's creative, something that makes him unique, something that makes other neurodiverse learners, unique individuals, and then being sure that you are educating them with the best tools so that they can grow up to be successful like Ali.
100%, exactly.
So my next question to you is this. I know you're a college student, but eventually you're going to be out in the workforce, on the job market and things of that nature. So what would you want, and this is a two-part question. The first part of the question is, what would you want your future employer to know about supporting someone with ADHD in the workplace? And then the second question is, what would you want your future colleagues to know about supporting someone with ADHD in the workplace?
I think understanding is key. Understanding that they have ADHD and accepting it. Mm-hmm. Finding ways and tools and little ways to figure out how they can be a part of the workplace and do better for the workplace, because there's always something, a strength that they have, the person, me or the person with ADHD has, that someone else doesn't. We're all like, I like the little saying by Rebecca Reitman. It says, all brains are like snowflakes. Not every single one is completely different. We all have a different strength that someone else has a weakness of. And it's key to embrace that and see people with ADHD as creative people who like to get on the move. We are a little bit hyperactive, impulsive, and attentive, but we like staying on the move, something that's nonstop, high paced. And something new every day. And that's key. That's our environment. And even if it's not on the pace or on the move, sitting in the desk in the cubicle, there are ways and tools to help you do good and end up, strengthening the workplace and excelling. And it was, what else was it? It was employer and colleagues. Yeah, both of them, both understanding, supporting each other. If you have a colleague, there's two people on a team. Someone can do something, someone can do something else. And it's all based off who's stronger at what. And I think there's always space. There's always something out there for everyone,
Yes, I do. I agree with you 100%. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we're coming down to the end of today's show. But I had one final question that I wanted to ask you. Mm-hmm. Where do you see yourself 3 to 6 months from now after having done today's interview?
3 to 6 months from now. Well, I'm gonna switch it up and do a little farther, if that's okay. So in
Absolutely.
6 months, I will still be as a senior in school. I will. I'm working on an ADHD webisode. I'll be done with that. I'll be finished up with a bunch of research, shadowing and interning, building my resume. Usual, especially during these trying times. Coronavirus has been a little damper on everything, but we gotta keep moving forward. But I see myself in another year, 2, 3, in the future. In 1 year, I'll be graduating out of college. In another year, I'll be applying to medical school. In another year, I'll be in medical school. So that is the goal, to keep moving forward, helping others. Being on the show, it's amazing. My goal is to get into medical school, and I know one day I will get into medical school. And I was diagnosed with ADHD at 7 years old. You will create the adaptive skills to turn your disability into a superpower. It's simple as that. It is something where you can be creative and helpful in the community you're in, no matter what. There's always those tools and tips and surroundings that will help you excel. And I see myself growing every year by year, getting better and better, no matter what. There's always room for growth. Every day is another experience, another thing you learn as you move on. And yeah, my goal is to help people, as once I become a physician, and help people now, people with ADHD, and whatever I could do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Ali, for being on today's show.
Of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is another amazing episode of Finding the Superpowers Within. I am your host, Dr. April J. Lisbon, your workplace autism advocate. I hope that this episode encourages you to not only share this episode with other neurodiverse learners, but if you or someone you know has a diagnosis of ADHD, as you can see, there is always hope. Yes, it may not look the way how you want it to when they're younger, but as Ali has already shown and he has proven that there are certain things that you will outgrow, and there is nothing you cannot do if you put your mind to it. So once again, Ali, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. It's always my pleasure to serve you here on Finding the Superpowers Within. Bye-bye.